Hey everybody, Kelly here from the farm on Highway J. How's everybody today? So today is Saturday, June 28th. If you're watching this right away, I actually am filming it a couple days beforehand a night and a half beforehand in the middle of the night, and it is storming outside, so if you hear or see any flashes from the windows over here, it's because we're in the middle of a bit of a thunderstorm. Um, I think the thunder has quieted down, but I still see some lightning going on. You might also be picking up my portable AC and my ceiling fans. I'm sorry, I can't shut them off. It's just too warm up here. I was going to say hot. It's not hot because the portable AC and the fans are running, but it is too warm to stop them. So hopefully I can get this done before it kicks on again. Anyhow, so it's been a while, been a couple of weeks, so I should have a lot to show you, right? Well, unfortunately, I've kind of, it's fine. You can see I don't have a brace on, but I have hurt my wrist just a little bit. Some probably like tendonitis type stuff going on. And I work at Home Depot, so I have to do a lot of lifting. And so I really have to kind of take care of myself. And so I kind of reduced my cross stitching a little bit and picked up some of my sewing again. Tried to concentrate more on some projects that I had already cut fabric for, or some smaller projects that I was just goofing off with, so that I could keep from straining my wrist anymore. And I think it's worked. I'm gonna be fine. Anyhow, okay, so along that line, one of the first things that I did, because I already had part of it cut, was Fat Quarter Shop is actually doing the Make-A-Wish quilt along again this year, and they are using the Starburst pattern this year. And so what you see behind me is the pattern for it, but the fabrics that they had actually picked were by Camille Roskelly, and it was really pretty. It's a really pretty quilt top, but I just this year decided to shop my stash more than purchasing the kit this year. I did use the pattern and I did make a donation, so I'll try to put in the description box below a link to Fat Quarter Shop's blog, The Jolly Jabber, and where you can get the pattern and make a donation to Make-A-Wish, because that's what they're asking, is that if you use that pattern, that you try to make a donation, and I totally support that. I think Kimberly really does an excellent job of trying to raise funds for a lot of different charity organizations, and that's one of them that's near and dear to their hearts and to mine too. So, but anyhow, I have, in the last 5 years, I have participated each year and purchased the kit from them and then made the donation. But this year I just kind of decided to go ahead and make the donation but shop my stash. So the quilt behind me, the pattern called Starburst, I think I mentioned this in one of my other videos a while back, that I had picked these fabrics, but I kind of thought maybe they were going to blend just a little bit too much, but I was okay with that. There were some fabrics that I thought went well together. I just wanted to see how the quilt would turn out. I will say I was kind of right. They do blend quite a bit. And I do somewhat wish that I had maybe picked a red color. Let me get to the right area here. That I had picked a red color for this blue right here instead. And then I would have had like a dark navy blue, and then the white backing or background, the white background with the stars, and then had a red red color right here, and then of course the USA, which is a different color of blue than the real navy one down here. But you know, I still like it. It's still technically 4 different colors of blue, so I'm okay with it. I just think it would have maybe had a little bit better effect had I chosen a red to throw in there. But it's cute. I like it. I will finish it. This is just the top right now. And I forget the size that it finishes out at. And actually, you're only seeing part of it. I'll try to put a picture in here so that you can see a little more. Or maybe, let me just kind of tilt you upward. Oh, I'm going to make you seasick. So you can kind of see there's a lot more to it than that, than just what you're seeing behind me here. So I like it well enough, and I'm going to leave it up here for the summertime. I probably will quilt it sometime later in the fall, this winter. We'll see. And then I'm sure I'll hang it somewhere downstairs in my front room or something like that next year. And yeah, I do really think a red in there would have made it, just pop of color more, but I do like it. So, okay. The other two Fat Quarter Shop projects that I worked on were previous Make-A-Wish quilts. So I've talked about them in a couple of my previous videos this year, that I went back and I did not finish the Serendipity quilt from, oh boy, I can never remember what year. Serendipity quilt from 2021. And that was this quilt right here. So I've just started working on it, and I've got this top row done previously, and then this time around I worked on the second row. So I've got just the flying geese done. And you'd be surprised, this is not very big row, but it took me quite a while. And really probably more than it should have, just because I was still doing a little bit of the cutting, and so I had to kind of take breaks and baby my wrist a little bit. So I do kind of wish that maybe I had done both of these rows at the same time, but I've been following along with how they originally set up the block releases for the pattern in 2021, and so I just decided just go do this one row. Plus, like, wanting to be careful, I just decided to just do the one row and not do both of them just yet. So this particular quilt is actually going to take me further into the year than the next one that I'm working on, because this has 8 releases to it. I think each of the, I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 7 rows, and then the 8th is the finishing. So this quilt will probably take me, it'll probably be December. Anyhow, and that's fine. I'm in no huge hurry, so let me throw these off to the side here. But I will say, it's a beautiful quilt. I love those colors. This was actually, was this a Corioder? One of these was Corioder, and I just can't remember right off the top of my head which one was which, but I'm pretty sure it was this one. Sorry, I should try to remember these things and find out beforehand, but all of a sudden I just can't think. One of them is, I know it, and it should say right on the front of it, but it doesn't for some reason. Okay, so the next one is definitely a Corioder, and this first one, they were both Corioder. I should have known that. Yeah, so these were both Corioder quilts. So the second one that I'm working on is actually from 2023, and I just didn't get it completed that year, and it is so cute as well. I love these blocks, and so I'm just gonna love this one. But I gotta tell you, this blue of this one, I just love it. So I'm gonna have 2 beautiful quilts when I get these 2 projects done this year. So I started, the first release was these 2 basket blocks out here. So I'll try to post a picture of those. And then this release was for the inside portion here. So let me show you. So it's for the very center block. Got that done. And then the flower blocks. And so, and they're all different colors. Kind of show you here. Each of them are different fabrics, and it's just going to be really pretty when it's done. So, and then there's a kind of one that has more of a reddish, pinkish, pink and red and yellow. So those are the really pretty inside blocks for that quilt. So now this particular one only has 2 more releases to it. So it's going to be actually 3 more releases technically. You do the flower blocks next, and then the butterfly blocks, and then there's a finishing pattern for it. So, okay, I should have mentioned that Starburst quilt was really just done in 2 releases this year. So it was something like, I think like this area right here, and then the second release was the outer portion there. So they are, that just came out in June, that second release here at the beginning of June. And so this one is wrapped up already. But they are continuing the donations. And so, like I said, I'll put that in the description box below. Hopefully, if I remember. If I don't right away, I will get to it. Okay, so some projects that I already had started to make it a little bit easier on me. I actually had this one from, oh no, no, I cannot remember the name. Open Gate Quilts. Man, sometimes Open Gate Quilts. I subscribed to her box like a year and a half ago, but I had to stop because I couldn't afford it anymore. Not that I couldn't afford that box. I just needed to pare down, and unfortunately that was one of them. But I've seen a lot of videos from people lately, and they are really good boxes. I wish that I could continue, but I just had to work on the things that I already had. Like, I have a huge stash from accumulating for a couple of years, so I just need to work on a lot of those projects. And yeah, unfortunately I couldn't participate in her box anymore. But anyhow, so this was a table runner from one of her boxes, and I believe these are actually her fabrics. And so let me see if I can get you a little closer so you can see some of them. But again, this was like from a year ago, so I'm not sure if these are still available, but they're very pretty. And it's a very pretty red table runner. And I just did a really basic stitching to quilt it down. It's not very good, but it works for me. So anyhow, and then on the back, I just used scraps. I had some nice long scraps, and so I just stuck them together and did a binding on it. And so I have a cute table runner here. And I think I might actually just use it as a dresser topper. I have a dresser that's about this width, and I really would like to get something on top of it because it shows every speck. You know, I mean, not that I'm not gonna take this off and clean it once in a while, but I swear I could wipe it down and within an hour it just, from across the room, the sunlight streams in such a way that you can see all the little dust particles. And so I just can't keep up with cleaning every hour on the hour. But I can put this on that dresser, and I will wash it every so often, that sort of thing. But not every hour on the hour. That's ridiculous. I live in the country, so you just deal with dust. So anyhow, um, next project that I worked on was also an open gate quilts project, and it is so cute. I love it. I'm not done with it, but this is a wall hanging, and this is about what, 4 blocks large, like 12 by 12 blocks, and they are all flowers. And I made a mistake, but I made the same mistake on all of them, so I just left it. And honestly, I don't think it's a mistake. I think I just didn't follow the pattern, and I think it works fine for me. So what happened was, these leaves are actually supposed to be directly opposite from each other. So what happened was, somehow I sewed the large backing block onto the bottom of this one and the smaller one onto the top, and I think they were both supposed to be, both leaves were supposed to be like this leaf. But honestly, if I hadn't pointed that out to you, aren't leaves sometimes supposed to be off center from each other? You know, I don't know, maybe not on this type of flower, but oh well. When I point that out, then you do probably see it. It looks funny, but I think it looks fine, so I'm gonna leave it. So, all right, and then I think it fell on the floor, but the binding for this will be this one right here, and I think that's just gonna be so cute, and it'll have 3 loops of that fabric at the top, and just can put it on a hanger, just put a rod, that sort of thing. All right, so that is gonna take me no time at all to get that quilted up and have a wall hanging, and I'm gonna probably put it in my front room. I think it'll be really cute there. So, and definitely around this time of year, because it's got a very patriotic vibe to me, but kind of a primitive patriotic vibe, I guess, is what I would say. Okay, so I started to look down at the floor because that's where a lot of my cross stitch is right now. So that's the next subject. All right, what have I been working on? Okay, so I have a freebie that I was working on. Well, let me put that second, actually. In May, I don't think I've been able to show this one since May, but this was kind of a travel stitch that I had with me when we went up to Minnesota a couple weeks ago, and it was an easy bag to grab and whatnot. So this is Little Bo Peep and Her Sheep by Little House Needleworks. At least I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Bo Peep and Her Sheep by Little House Needleworks. I think I might have showed this on my last video and talked about when I was a little girl. Halloween costumes a couple years running were I was Little Bo Peep, and so when I saw this pattern on sale however long ago, I just thought, oh, it's part of a series, but I'm happy to just do this little stitch. I think it's cute, and so that's how far I've gotten. Not very far at all, but anyhow, it's, oh, show you the flosses. It's gonna be really cute when it's done. So yeah, I actually think this one will be one that I'll work on just a little bit in the fall too, just because of the Halloween connection. All right, so next one I've been working on is called Sweet Land of Liberty by Cherry Hill Stitchery, and I can't show you the pattern because it's a free chart, but it is just the chart. And even though it's a free chart, I don't really want to show the chart. I will try to put a link in the description box below if I can find it and it's still free. And so here we go. Sweet Land of Liberty by Cherry Hill Stitchery. I still have quite a bit to do down here in the bottom, and then there's supposed to be a border at the bottom just like the top. So I just need to finish filling out these flowers here and then stitch the border. So I'm hoping that I can maybe work on this on the 4th of July next week and get it finished, or at least stitchy finish anyhow. Maybe not a final finish, but, and I was kind of thinking about a pillow for this, but then I thought maybe a mattress, just so that it could kind of stand up maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see on that one. So, next, or last I should say, but a couple of lasts. I have a couple of finally finished off FFOs. Maybe not entirely though. Let me show you this one because I have some thoughts on how to fix it. And actually something just fell. Oh no. Let me grab it real quick. Yep, I got some goodies in here and they just fell over. So let me show you the picture first of the one that, don't show you the chart. So this is actually a Teresa Kogut pattern called Sweet Wren. And so that's her finishing. And I thought to do something really similar to that, but I had actually gone to the thrift store and was shopping for some other things, and I came across this little item here, and I thought, I bet I could make that work. And so let me take this off, holding this just right. And so it's just a little item here on this side, and so as you can see, my stitching actually, the bird came out quite a bit more gray than what Teresa's did in the book. And I guess, you know, wrens can be different colors. So when I did some research, I'm like, okay, some of them are kind of more grayish, so I'm just going to leave it alone. But I did really like the blue that it was showing in the picture on the pattern. So I actually took, so the letters are supposed to be the same mid color as the bird, but I actually took some blue and made some of those letters in the blue. And I just thought, okay, I do kind of wish one of these had been blue as well, but I had them done already. And then I thought, I'm not going to unstitch all that. Well, anyhow, I have this here, and I've been thinking I'm going to wait and look around and see if I can't find maybe an old Scrabble puzzle game at the thrift store or something like that. Or maybe just some letters at Hobby Lobby, something. If I can just find like 4 letters for cheap, I'll just grab them. But in the meantime, I also thought I might just paint this up and put this on there. And if I do, I'm thinking maybe I will pull out that kind of reddish color of the berries here, like this reddish color right here, and then try to paint that and put that on there. So that's one of my thoughts, but I also think I still want to try to find some letters and spell out Wren like Teresa did. So the back of this particular project though, let me show you. Okay, so let me take this out of here actually. Oh, and I'm going to lose my bunnies. So this was just a cutesy little project. These little bunnies were a dollar store thing that my mom had thrown in. She still does Easter baskets, and so she had this little dollar store thing that she'd thrown in one of the bags for me. And so while I was kind of waiting on my wrist to feel better, I just went ahead and glued those together and stuck them in there for now. And one of them actually, I lost some of the eyes. so I just left him without eyes and a nose, which is fine because these actually remind me of like mice that are dressed up as bunnies. But anyhow, they're just cute little things that I threw in there. What I was actually planning was that I will fill this seasonally. So like right now I have some little flag pillows, something like that I'll put in there. But I just happened to be working on these bunnies, so I threw them in there. And then, oop, as they fall all over the place while I'm looking at this. And so the next stitch that I had actually done and just finished was this little hip hop pillow right here. So and that was by Kathy Haberman of Hands On Design. And so this is my finish on that. And that was the other project that I just kind of stuck in here temporarily. And so I finished it with the little bunny button on the front and put the little bunny button on the back to overlap where the rickrack joins. And I just would maybe set the little pillow in there. So this is kind of a big one for this particular set right here, but I've got a few smaller ones and I may just set them in there. And so that would be like what I would do for Easter. And then of course, like I said, for July, 4th of July, I might have some flags in that, you know, Halloween, put some Halloween littles, that sort of thing. But for right now, I'm just kind of gonna stick my bunnies back in here. And actually I'll probably put them away and go find some flags, but basically this then is going to sit in a spot where you'll be able to see it from both sides, or I'll be able to show it from both sides. Oh, looks like there was a little thread and a little hair on there. That's weird. Anyhow, so that's my Teresa Kogut finish, Sweet Wren. So again, not quite finished because I'm going to put something up there, but I just thought that worked out really cute. The little cabinet was actually a thrift store find. I got it for $1.25. It was not in great. I had to clean it up a bit and spray painted it, and then it's cute. So, okay. My last finish, probably one of my favorite. Let me see. Hopefully I can hold this up. I think we're about to find out. Okay. All right. Well, I should have brought a Jimmy John's box over here to show you what this actually started out as. So, it started out as a Jimmy John's box. And so we have a stitching case. So this is, okay, do I want to explain it here, or I have taken some video and I may want to add that in. So give me just a second and I'm going to pause. Okay, so I'm just going to try to quickly go over how I put together this box for the using the pattern Blackbird of Spring by Fox and Rabbit. So this pattern actually was in Fox and Rabbit's Patreon last year, and then they released it, General released it this spring. So Karen actually stitched this in 2024, and she had the K on it originally. I left the K on it because I'm Kelly, and my mom is Karen, and so I just left the K initial on it. And when I was doing that, I thought, you know what, this stitch would be perfect for either a sewing bag or a sewing case. And as I got further along, I thought, sewing case, it needs to be a sewing case, because when you do a sewing bag, they're cute, I like them, but a lot of times they just get thrown into a pile. And you know, you don't want to necessarily, well, I do. I have some of my stitching in some of the bags, and they get thrown into the pile, and then I get to see them once in a while, and then they get thrown back into the pile. But I just wanted to take this one and actually be able to put it into onto a case and be able to put that case somewhere on a shelf where I can see it. A shelf or like on a table, something like that. Probably go in my front room actually. But it's also made into a case so that I can carry it with me if I ever do go to a retreat or something like that. I really don't, but you know, if I do, and I can take it with me to work and stitch on something at lunch. I probably won't do that so much, but I could. Anyhow, so how I made this. So this is actually a Jimmy John's catering box. A lot of people like may not necessarily get them all the time or something like that, but like, you know, if you do like a family reunion or something like that, you're gonna maybe get a box full of sandwiches. If I got a couple of boxes actually, when we ordered for work for all the associates, so Lou recycled some of them and I recycled some of them, kind of thing. So yeah, Jimmy John's box. And so let me show you what I did here. So one of the things that I do kind of wish I'd done better is I wish I would have thought of something a little bit different for the sides for this space right here. Maybe taking this stitching right here and stitching it along the sides. That I really think that would have been what I would have liked the most. But it's all right. It works. And so, or I'm really kind of thinking maybe I could put some buttons along here, especially if I found some flower buttons or something. So, you know, it's never too late. Even though this is done, I could still put some buttons along there. Maybe I have some counting pins that I could stick in there. There's still a lot of things that I could do to jazz it up just a little bit. Okay. So anyhow, how I started this actually. So this is actually the opening of the case here. So you can see it's kind of upside down when you open it from the case, but or when you go to open it, it looks like it'll be upside down here. But what it actually is intended is, so how, okay, I need to restart, sorry. The first thing I started with was actually taking some Mod Podge and putting this outer fabric on. And then I put on the back fabric. You can kind of see I didn't do necessarily the greatest of jobs with meeting the seams in that. So I actually put, it's not really rickrack, but it's like a trim. I just put this trim on. And then where did I go from there? I think I went to the inside and lined the inside. And then I actually had, I don't even know what this stuff is called. And I got it in a scrap box from Soya. And it's like a raffia almost in a weird sort of way. But it's a material of some type. I just can't think of it. But it shreds. It shreds like crazy until you go to sew it up, and then it's sewn up, and now it's fine. But I actually just glued that down the sides, and I didn't quite have a long enough piece to be able to glue it onto the back or onto the bottom as well, so I just have glued it onto the sides for now. And I'm thinking maybe I would take like some furniture tacks or something like that and be able to stick it down a little bit better. But anyhow, for now it's working fine, and I don't intend to like swing it around by this little handle or anything like that. I just want to be able to carry it sometimes. So how I did this part right here, so I actually, okay, so I messed up. So let me show you here. So I actually just have a little satin, and I kind of need two hands to do this, sorry, ribbon glued on here underneath the stitch, and I just have used that, and I wound it around this little, it's supposed to be a needle minder, and it will hold my needle now because there's another magnet that I glued to this and then glued it onto the box. But originally, without that other magnet, it was not strong. Like, the needles kept falling off, so it wasn't strong enough. But now that there's another magnet behind there, which gives it a little bit of a groove for this to be able to go into, it does hold needles. So my original thought on this box was that I was going to Velcro this down. Well, that was kind of dumb. Don't do that. Because it's cardboard. And when you put Velcro on to cardboard, this was not a firm enough cardboard to not start to bend when I went to pry the Velcro apart. And so because I had originally put Velcro on it, there was some glue problems. And so I had to actually come up with something that would cover up that glue. And so what I found, as you can see, I'm not real perfect here with my fabric, but what I found was that I had started to stitch a piece called Christy Barron, and it's a sampler piece, and I'd started to do the stitching, and I kind of knew when I started to do it that I didn't think this piece of cloth was going to be big enough. And yeah, a couple of videos ago I went over that and how I realized when I started to get toward the end of the first part of the frame, the top part of the frame, that I knew it was not going to fit. And that's okay. I was just going to restart it, and it's fine. And I was maybe thinking of some different ideas for what to use this for. Well, this came along, and I thought, you know what? That'll fit. It'll work. It's different color. It's yellow instead of the kind of cream color that the top piece is. But the flowers are cute. The flowers are similar in color to the top, and I just really liked it. Or, you know, very similar in color to some of the fabrics that I chose too. So anyhow, I just stuck that on there, and no rhyme or reason to it other than the fact that it's covering up some glue on the fabric. So, and then the inside, as you can see, I already have some items in there, which are part of a kit for another Fox and Rabbit sampler that I'm doing. So I put on the one side, I put a couple magnets I glued to the side so that, like, these needles are sticking. There's some scissors there that are sticking. And then I've actually glued on a little piece of batting here so that I can stick some pins in there, some needles in there. I will probably come up with some other things that I want to have inside my little stitchy case. You know, maybe I will put some decorative stuff on the top here. I even thought about doing another stitch on the inside of the box. But, you know, there's time to decide on that. And yeah, maybe I'll find something else that I want to put in here. And again, I didn't do the greatest of jobs with my fabric here. You can kind of see that this is starting to get a little... it's not really meeting all that great, but anyhow. So just to show you, got some different items in there. And yeah, these were just some fabrics from my stash. And yeah, I think it's going to be a cutesy little box that I will just keep a lot of my Fox and Rabbit projects in. And if I had both of my hands right now, this is actually pretty simple to do, but I'm holding it up so I don't. Yeah, it's done. There you go. It's just the fact that I need to kind of push that in sometimes in order to get that satin piece around. But that's it. And very cute. And you saw a little bit of the fabric on the inside, but that's what the backing looks like too. And it's got a little bit more orange in the fabrics than what the stitch does. In fact, it's got a lot more orange than what the stitch does. The stitch doesn't really have any orange, but it does have the reds, the whites, and a little bit of dark color to it too. There's black in the blackbird. But anyhow, just a cute little case, and it cost me nothing but the materials that I already purchased to do other projects. So, and it's nice and sturdy, and I like it. So, I'll try to get a picture of what the actual Jimmy John's box looked like to begin with. And the only thing that I did to the box was there are little tabs that go on this piece right here, and they stick inside there. I couldn't quite figure out how to keep those. Probably if I had not put the fabric on this way, I would have been able to just keep those and tuck them in, but I like it just fine this way. So all right, there it is. And I think that's all I have for today. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you're having a good summer or fall if you're down under. I think I have a couple of viewers that might be from Australia. So they're in winter, well, I should say winter, not fall. They're in winter right now. But yeah, most everybody that comments though is probably having summer right now. So hope you're having a good time and enjoy. And if you're here in the US, I hope you enjoy the 4th of July coming up. And yeah, I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye. I almost forgot. I've been stitching on Betsy Ross's flag as well. If I can find the picture of the finished project, I will post it off to the side there. But I had the flag finished, and I had part of Betsy Ross finished, but not all of her. And so now I've got her finished, and I've got basically I have the whole inside. There is supposed to be something else here. It's like a crown though. So I don't know if I want to put a crown in there or not. I had kind of thought about doing some more stars or possibly some more spools right in there. I don't know. And there's supposed to be more ABCs and a little bit more down at the bottom too. And so, but yeah, hopefully I can work on her a little bit next weekend too and get this one just a little bit further along. But I'm really enjoying this one. I love the colors of the fabric, and I think it's working out okay. I was a little afraid because this was a very strange dye of the fabric, and so I thought it was going to turn out to be weird, but I don't know. It's okay. I think it's going to be unique. All right. Well, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next time.